All right, so only four regular season games left of the 2017 NFL season already. It's quite, it's been a wild season. And before I talk about the Jaguars game this weekend, the Seahawks are going to Jacksonville to play them. Before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about the NFC playoff picture here, because it's a lot of the way a lot of these games line up is really interesting. So the Seahawks still have a shot because a lot of people are saying or a lot of fans of the Seahawks are saying let's just aim for the NFC West or the wild card spot, whatever. But here's the thing, and with all the way the games line up this weekend, look at this. A lot of people right off the bat are probably going to be rooting for the Eagles to beat the Rams, and the reason for that is because if the Rams lose this weekend and the Seahawks win, they will both be 9-4, but the Seahawks will be first place in the West since they'll have the tiebreaker and the better divisional record. But here's what I say we should do as Seahawks fans and the games I think we should root for. I think we should actually root for the Rams to beat the Eagles this weekend, to drop the Eagles to 10-3. Now the Rams will go up to 10-3 at that point, but if the Seahawks win this weekend and go up to 9-4, the Seahawks also play the Rams the Sunday after this Sunday. So if the Seahawks were to beat the Rams then in Seattle, which I think the Seahawks have a pretty good shot at doing, then the Seahawks would be 10-4 and the Rams would also be 10-4. And the Seahawks would be in first place then. But what that does is if the Rams win this weekend, it drops the Eagles to 10-3 rather than the Eagles going to 11-2, and it drops them down. You look at some of these other games here, the Panthers and the Vikings. I'm going to be rooting for the 8-4 Panthers to try to drop the Vikings to a 10-3 record as well. The Saints and Falcons, I'll be rooting for the 7-5 Falcons against the 9-3 Saints. I want the Saints to drop to 9-4. Basically, all these teams, even if the Seahawks don't get the number one seed, the Seahawks have a legitimate chance to get the number two seed and at least have the divisional game at home. And if the number one seed gets knocked out in their divisional game and the Seahawks move on to the championship game, then the championship game in the playoffs will be in Seattle as well. So there's a lot of people rooting for the Rams to lose this weekend. And I get it. If the Seahawks win and the Rams lose, they'll be in first place right there. Personally, just thinking of it down the road, I think I'm actually going to be rooting for the Rams this weekend. Either way, no matter what happens, to be honest with you, with that Rams game, if the Rams win, I think it's a win-win situation. The only way it's not a win-win situation is if the Seahawks lose this weekend. If the Seahawks lose this Sunday to the Jaguars and the Rams win, the Seahawks are going to have to win out, and they're going to have to beat the Rams in Seattle as well. That's the only way Seattle doesn't win that situation. But if Seattle wins this Sunday and the Rams lose, or if the Rams win, it doesn't really matter. It's a win-win for the Seahawks either way because it drops the Eagles down, and like I'm saying with all these other games, the Vikings can get dropped down to 10-3 as well. The Saints can get dropped down to 9-4 if they lose. There's a lot of listen. I know there's only 4 weeks left, but a lot can happen in these 4 weeks, and with a lot of these games this weekend, especially in the NFC, they have pretty big playoff implications with them. So to talk about this game in Jacksonville, earlier in the year when I did my schedule analysis, and I think a lot of other people when they were doing their predictions, I think a lot of people kind of had this Jaguars game as an automatic win. And I think even though we all knew that their defense was going to be something, we didn't necessarily know how Leonard Fournette would be in the NFL. We didn't necessarily know if Blake Bortles was going to go back to his 2015 form when he threw 30-some passing touchdowns and he was pretty good that year, or if he was going to play like the way he played in this year's preseason or even played during 2016. Here's the thing with the Jaguars. When Blake Bortles does not turn the ball over, and he only has 6 INTs this year, when he doesn't turn the ball over, the Jaguars win the game. The Jaguars defense is absolutely amazing. Just basically number one in every single category, and it takes them about average 4 seconds to get a sack. And with the Seahawks offensive line, Russell Wilson is going to be pressured probably almost every single play of this game. Russell Wilson's really going to have to make a lot of plays on his feet. Mike Davis, I really like what I saw to Mike Davis in the Eagles game. I think he is. I think with J.D. McKissic is great as having him as a wideout, and I think Mike Davis is great having him in the backfield. And I think Mike Davis, and Thomas Rawls had like 2 carries, and he did pretty well in that game too. But I really like what I saw to Mike Davis, and I'm expecting Mike Davis to, at the very least, have 70-some rushing yards this game, because I think the Seahawks should really try to get the running game started in this game. The last few games, it's kind of like they've relied heavily on the pass. I would like to see us really start getting the running game going, because I think Mike Davis has the potential, and if our offensive line can create holes, he has the potential to average a little over 4 yards per carry. And we can kind of get back to what we used to do when we had Marshawn Lynch and kind of running the clock with that and kind of dictating where the game goes by being able to run the ball. So I'm hoping that Seattle can at least do that. Seahawks defense, it's interesting. Even without Richard Sherman and Cam Sanders, so they've been pretty good. I mean, you look at the Atlanta game; they held Matt Ryan to under 200 yards passing that game. And Julio Jones, they held him in check. And the week after, they did a great job with the 49ers, too. Granted, they're the 49ers, but they still did a great job. And last week, you look at what they did against Carson Wentz and stuff. I mean, yeah, Carson Wentz had over 300 yards passing, but a lot of that was almost in garbage time, too, when the game was sealed. And, I mean, the fumble that they forced at the goal line, Bobby Wagner making amazing plays. I mean, the defense, and Byron Maxwell, he got burned a few times, but he ended up getting a pick in the end zone later on in the game, and he did okay. And I really like Shaquille Griffin. I think the defense has actually been doing just fine. I'm not worried about the defense in this game necessarily. It's more of our offense just because of how great the Jaguars defense is. The Jaguars defense is what worries me the most about this game, and this is basically what's probably going to carry the Jaguars to the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, Blake Bortles is having a good year. I think a lot of people gave up on him too early, and I think even I'm guilty of this. I saw his season last year, and I thought, I just don't know what Blake Bortles is going to be. And then you watched him in this year's preseason, and you thought, oh my God, is he even going to be the starter? Is he going to get released? Are they going to get Brandon Allen the job, which I don't even think Brandon Allen's on the team anymore? Or, they're going to get Chat Henne the job? Like, who's the job going to go to? But Blake Bortles has done a very good job this year not turning the ball over. So that's something that the Seahawks defense is going to have to try to force, whether it be fumbles or whatever. They're going to have to try to put a lot of pressure on him and force him to make some mistakes, because if we force Blake Bortles to make even one or just two mistakes, I think the game goes into Seattle's favor that way. So this is going to be, I think, a low-scoring defensive battle. I can see this game being something like 17-16 even, or like a 17-14. It's going to be, I mean, which is funny because every time a game looks like it's going to be defensive battle, it ends up being something else. But I think this game is basically just two really good defenses, and I was saving a great defense with the Jaguars. The Jaguars defense is absolutely amazing this year. It's carrying the team, but don't get me wrong, Leonard Fournette's been doing amazing too, and Blake Bortles, like I said, doing a great job at not turning the ball over. But those are the key to the game. Seattle's offense going to have to be able to run the ball and create some time for Russell Wilson to do something, and the Seahawks defense, they're going to have to be able to stop the run, get some pressure on Blake Bortles, and force at least one or two turnovers. And I think the Seahawks can win. But once again, with the NFC, the playoffs and everything, I think it would be wise to root for the Rams to win this weekend, just to kind of knock Philly off. Or like I said, it doesn't necessarily matter if the Rams win or lose as long as the Seahawks win. But I would really like to see the Rams win just to kind of knock Philly off, because I would really like the Seahawks to be able to get at least the number 2 seed, because if you just look out through Seattle's history, they're able to win wild card games on the road, but a lot of times those divisional games, it's just, you look at 2012, they weren't able to win the divisional game on the road. 2015, they weren't able to win the divisional game on the road. Last year, we're not able to win the divisional game on the road. And you can even look at games prior. I mean, 2010, after they beat the Saints in Seattle in the wild card game, they weren't able to win in Chicago. 2007, they weren't able to win at Lambeau Field. 2006, they weren't able to win against the Chicago Bears. I can go on and on about this when it comes to the divisional games. If Seattle wants to go back to the Super Bowl, they need to have at least a divisional game at their place, at the very least. So I'm hoping that a lot of this stuff can happen this weekend. I'm going to be rooting for the Falcons and everything, and I'm going to be rooting for the Rams. So hopefully after this week, the Seahawks playoff picture looks a little bit better when it comes to getting the number 1 or number 2 seed. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this game down below. Are you nervous for us? Because I've seen a lot of people, and even the Jaguar fans, there's Jaguar fans and Seattle fans both nervous about this game. And I think that tells you that the fact that both fan bases are a little nervous about it, I think that tells you that this game is about to be something special. And I think it's going to be a great defensive battle, and I'm looking forward to watching it, and I'm glad it's game of the week. And I'm happy to see the Jaguars having a good year too. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this game in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and go Hawks.